put the photo. Okay.
We're
Um, Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And once again, the MBTA plan is on the agenda. And that's because of the petition that went around and the fact that we now need to go and have a ballot and have a vote, and it's going to cost the town an arm and a leg, but what the heck? So I think we obviously been talking about this. And I need to be sure that this board, is supporting the neighborhood plan circumstances that have happened. And, okay, shaking your head no.
doubling what the MBTA needs? Is that what you mean? Or the new one where we're going back to what it should,
Nobody said we're going
or
back.
back to the original
That's not, that's not necessarily what they're going
gonna
to do.
do. They're just voting on.
Ted, we can't shut the door as a public meeting.
Oh, you can?
No.
All the
sorry.
noise out there?
Just gonna
Yeah,
yell at the people out there, don't be quiet.
Yeah, just ask them if they, you know,
Okay, I tried.
okay, sorry. Yeah, the planning board, I believe, is working on another plan. It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean they're going back to the base plan that they had presented to town meeting the first time.
Mhm. This is just gonna stop what they voted on, which was double the amount that was, the MBTA said it was needed.
Right. All right.
Did I misunderstand? Is another election going to be required?
There's an election on January 14th.
That's
I guess
lovely.
one question, a yes or a no.
Right.
Yes is in support of the neighborhood plan, a no is throwing everything out.
Yeah, that was my question. So we will have no plan until we have another election.
Until another
Will
town.
be
Another town
Town
meeting,
meeting.
right?
A chance for me to rail once again about the ridiculousness of a town having town meeting form of government with a $230 million budget. I think if we had a normal mayor selectman, they could just make a vote and put the original plan back in 5 seconds.
You need to read Gloria Grice's the History Center website today. She did a whole article on town meeting. Oh, no, you're fine.
Sorry.
On a very contentious town meeting that happened in 18 something or
Yeah.
rather, that it's interesting.
That's my point, that
Yeah.
it was a good government for the 19th century.
Right.
But not relevant to our discussion, because I think it's a tough choice, because forget the board being in favor of it, they gotta get 5,000 votes, which is gonna be very tough. But, you know, there's no alternative. That's,
So, the one thing I guess I would just remind the board of, we've done 2 detailed reports, on Needham seniors that involved more than 800 people completing a survey, involved, I think 15 key informant interviews and like 5 or 6 stakeholder discussions. And both of those, one was in 2017 and one was in 2022. Said the biggest concern that seniors have is how to stay in their community.
oh, there's,
So I think there's lots of ways to think about how to help seniors with that and whether the neighborhood housing plan is the right way. But there's no doubt that seniors are concerned about staying in Needham and being able to afford to stay in Needham.
So it's my impression, from everything that I've learned about this, that the base plan made no increase from where we are right now. So-
So the zoning that's allowed, right, that was in place the day before town meeting. Has been in place for, I think, 10 or 12 years. And the only building that's been built is the one at the end of Dedham Ave, that's sort of right near the common room.
Right,
that-
that they added 2 extra stories on against the town meeting voted on. So I look at it every day.
So the zoning that's in place right now, and don't quote me on the exact numbers, But the zoning that's in place right now could allow, sorry, and by now I mean before the town meeting vote. Would have allowed, I think, either 900 or 1,100 units. And the MBTA base compliance was 1,700 and something, and I don't know the exact, 92, okay. And then the neighborhood plan could allow up to 3,700 and something units. The housing Needham group that was appointed actually came up with 3 options. A very base compliance plan, a middle plan, and a big plan. And then ultimately decided the big plan was too big and didn't even bring that forward. So I think there's some people who think the neighborhood plan is too big, but it wasn't the biggest one that was considered. They sort of self-censored and said, I don't think this is right for the community. We think it's gonna be between this and this. Needham chose to do something that was different, and I think it's a good thing. Wellesley zoned, for example, the Nines, the very large new development on the other side of Route 9 for most of Wellesley. Wellesley zoned that area. So, you know, if the company that just spent $100 million building that building wants to knock it down and spend 110 million building a building that's 1 story bigger, they can, but there's no way that happens, right? So there's a question of, are you complying with the letter of the law, or are you complying with the intent? And I think at least the public statements have been that Needham was trying to go beyond just complying with the letter of the law, but actually comply with the intent, which was to try to make more housing.
Right, and again, I think part of the concept of many people who are not quite as knowledgeable as to what's going on, feel that this is something that tomorrow we're gonna have, you know, 5-story apartment buildings and on Chapel Street and, you know, some of this other, I just, at my age, I doubt if we're gonna have anything. Possibly if it goes through, the Carter building might be changed, but whether it's changed in time for me to get anything out of it, I don't know. It's gonna take a long time to get to the numbers that they're talking about.
I don't know if you can ever get to that.
No,
number.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. When you look at the plots of land, you know, from where they're starting to where they're ending, there's very little land that's available for anything that's large.
So I think people talk a lot about Lexington, and Lexington adopted zoning that was very, very, very large. I think their plan allowed for something in the order of like 12,500 units, which is a lot considering Lexington has 37,000 people. But Lexington has a lot of greenfield development, so that's big open multi-acre parcels where they zoned. Needham didn't zone, it doesn't have any parcels like that left, but Needham didn't zone, you know, Owens Poultry Farm, for example.
Right.
For housing, they zoned along a sort of the central artery of the town. And that's what would be called infill development, because you'd either, you know, have a parcel you own that you wanted to make a 10-unit building, or you try to buy your neighbor on one side and the other, and then try to make a 30-unit building or something. And that by its nature is more complicated than there's a 20-acre lot for sale, I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna put a big building down on it. Right, because you have to do the negotiating, because you have to buy land from people, because you've got to get permission from the planning board to merge the parcels. So the infill development versus greenfield development is a big difference. I know Lexington is sort of thrown out as kind of a scary case because they have 1,000 units already permitted that are, you know, somewhere along the line between getting their permit and getting construction completed. But I do think there's a little bit of a difference between Needham and Lexington in that respect.
So, any other comments or?
So the buildings, though, they're not like low income, there's no guarantee of the prices, correct? Of the cost of the leases or whatever,
There's a certain,
There's a certain
with
percentage.
certain percentage,
12 and a half
12.5.
12.5%.
for buildings
yes.
that are over 6 units, or maybe it's either 6 units and over or over 6 units. So like a building that's 5 units doesn't have to have any
Right.
affordable units, but a building that was,
10 units, you'd get
you get one.
one,
And change one and all.
right? So there are low income in the industrial park.
There
Yes.
are.
Yes, that's the only. way we
Kendrick
beat
and-
That's the only way we beat 40B.
And the one on
Because
Green,
you
on
didn't
one
have
on
that.
Greendale.
A
Yes.
developer could come in and slap buildings any place they want in town. But if we didn't have beaten the 40B.
You know, the definition of affordable housing in Needham
When you look at yeah,
is,
The
you can-
income,
so I know
yeah.
people that live in Charles River Park, what's the?
Yeah, Charles River,
River.
Yeah.
your banks or
You
whatever.
know, widows that make maybe 65,000, they qualify for that
Mhm.
housing. So
Right.
It's like 80,000,
I think it's 87.
yeah.
Yeah. That's how,
I know there was an article in the last couple of days that I read where in Massachusetts, it's 100 and some odd, 128,000 something.
Well, so the Observer
Median,
today said
yeah.
the median income in Needham was 202,000 in 2022. Median family income.
well, you'd have to buy the new, how these young people buy these new houses, I mean, good lord.
And most of the down payments. Yeah, I remember when we
Sell
bought
their
our
other
house, my
house.
down payment was $5,000.
Six.
And now you've gotta have like $125,000 for a down payment of a house. It has to be
They sell their old
family
house,
money or, something, or, either, so. But I think a lot of this is hopefully looking for space. That what I call service people, can find,
Not even just service people.
Right,
My
fire,
daughter works in affordable housing and not-for-profit,
yeah,
and, it's ironic because she can't afford rent in Boston any longer. So she's home with us, and so she's big on this whole housing plan, and
Yeah.
it's senior, I come at it from a senior perspective. She's coming at it from there's a term, like the working, there's a term
Yeah.
for the average person right
Yeah.
now that can't afford a
right,
home.
right.
Just-
Right.
The
You make,
average
you make too
school
much to
teacher.
qualify for
Right, a
subsidies.
fireman,
Yeah.
a school
Yeah.
teacher, a nurse, yeah,
Nurse.
clerks in the stores, I mean,
Yes,
Oh.
yeah.
yeah,
Well, so Nantucket has this problem, right? So Nantucket is an incredibly wealthy community, but it's an island, so like, when they're thinking about getting a new HVAC repair person. They've got to find someone on the island already who wants to be an HVAC repair person, because they can't get an HVAC repair person for Boston and say, why don't you just buy a house, right?
Right.
Right,
It seems like it's different in Needham, but when you think about the communities that surround Needham. Wellesley, Newton, Dover, Sherburne, Westwood, Dedham.
yeah.
None of them are cheap, so Needham sort of is a little bit of an island in that you have to go pretty far out to get housing that's affordable.
we're a peninsula,
It's
Yeah,
really-
that's
in real life.
I mean, it used to be like Millis, Medfield, but now
Yeah.
even those are.
No,
are
yeah.
Way above,
Yeah.
yeah,
You gotta go to
So you go
Worcester.
to like
Yeah.
Franklin, or you go to 495.
Norfolk.
Outside the 495 belt.
Yeah,
so again, we've been asked, for our support. Of the yes vote. So that's what that's what I'm bringing up tonight.
Well, I make a motion that we support the yes vote.
and I will second.
Seconded.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Nay,
Okay,
We have one board member online. Do you need,
yes, Penny?
Penny, do you mind just giving us a yay or a nay? Or in the chat? Does that count?
yeah.
Is it in the
Yeah.
chat?
You can put it in the chat, yeah.
Or, I guess, extension.
And if you need to send a text message to Colleen, I suspect she could take that, maybe, I don't know.
Mute. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you. I voted yes, like the rest of you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You're
Penny.
welcome.
Correct.
I think when you think about places that have done sort of upzoning, and Minneapolis and Austin are some of the ones that come to mind. it takes a while for housing prices to either come down or to slow their rate of increase. So thinking that it, we pass this and it's going to suddenly make it so that, anyone on a fixed income can afford to stay in the community is not realistic. I think the hope is that, if Needham does its part and every community in the region does its part, that makes housing more affordable. But I think when I'm trying to think about it from my lens as Health and Human Service Director, I'm concerned about displacement of seniors. And I'm concerned about seniors who are staying in a home that maybe is too big or is unsafe for them because they have no option to downsize. They may be very, rich on paper, right? Because their home is worth, or the land under their home maybe is worth $1 million something. But if they want to stay in their community, there's, nothing on the market for less than 2.
Right, I mean, I
Or if
could
they
sell my
want-
house.
or even rent an apartment.
Right,
it's
right.
$5,000.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've been offered over $1 million for my house, but where do I go? Yeah, I mean, there's no
Reverse
condo that I
mortgage
can
and have
buy
an
in
aid.
Needham for that amount of money, so
That's the way around here you gotta do.
I'm sorry.
You get a reverse mortgage and get an aid and stay in your house versus. 'Cause I know, my sister's a nurse and with friends, the more someone moves, the more confused it gets. It gets worse too. Sometimes if you can stay in your house,
Right.
stay in your house.
Yeah, exactly. I know I was at Thanksgiving, just as an aside, I was asked by my family, when I thought I was going to be ready to move out there. And my answer was, to my knowledge, I'm not coming.
That's not in my plan.
No, not at all. I mean, I just, and their answer is, well, you could volunteer out here, and I went, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right,
So
right.
anyway, I'm here for them to carry me out, I guess.
You should do Amy first, she's got a long day.
Okay,
Good point.
okay, Amy, would you like to give us your report?
What, do we lose him?
Nope, there she
There
is.
it is.
You're muted.
We can't hear you.
No, we still can't hear you. No.
Is it us or her?
Well,
Now,
Penny was
yeah.
able to-
She's not muted. It's-
But Penny was able. to-
We missed our
Can't hear you.
here.
Yeah.
Amy, if you can hear me, do you want to call my cell and I'll put you on speaker?
Well, I'll give the side story. My dad, every night I check in with my dad and every night, he's in New Hampshire now. Why did I sell the house in Needham? I never should have left Needham.
Right.
Yeah.
Bob, on every night, so we want seniors to be able to stay here.
While we're waiting for Amy to call, could I mention the good news about the capital?
Yes, yes. I was actually gonna put you first, but then we had a request for Amy. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I don't know.
I'm just
why
gonna
I'm
mute you
muted,
on.
Because I'm not muted on my screen.
Do you want to turn off your Zoom because you're echoing?
Okay.
Or am I echoing?
No, it's,
Yeah.
You would either have to turn.
Oh,
it on.
yeah. You're echoing because she has the Zoom on.
Because my Zoom is on?
No, her.
Oh.
Zoom.
You can turn down your volume and turn off your microphone. But no one will.
Then no one will hear it. You know what, can I just,
is it better now?
yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, so for the month of November in Shine, we provided an open enrollment presentation at the Watertown COA on November 1st. We also continued to run our regular Shine computer room appointments in Needham on Mondays and Thursdays, and in Framingham Callahan Center on Wednesdays. And this was done every week from 10 to 4 p.m. We also provided a Medicare one-on-one presentation at the Newton Library on November 8th. And we held an optional Shine counselor meeting via Zoom on November 15th to discuss Medicare open enrollment. So it was sort of like a check-in for us with our counselors, just to see how open enrollment was going, if there are any issues, and to touch base. Then we had, for the first time ever, we tried something new, and we presented a Medicare Plan Finder webinar on November 22nd to the public. So oftentimes by this point of the month, all appointments are fully scheduled everywhere in NEDA. So this allowed us a chance to teach beneficiaries and caregivers out in the community how they can use the Medicare Plan Finder on their own if they're tech savvy or if they have younger children or family members. So if they weren't able to find an appointment, then we can teach them how to go on with their loved ones and compare Medicare drug plans. So that was a great turnout as well. So we tried that the first time. So I think that is also something we'll continue to do going forward. And then lastly, we attended the Watertown Health Fair on November 14th. And that was also a great turnaround too. I think this was like the first time they've done it in a while since COVID. So that was a great turnout. And that was it for the month of November. Does anyone have any questions?
No, just thank you for doing such a great job.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and all of you guys' support. All right, thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night, Amy.
You too. Bye.
We had lunch in Framingham today.
Did you?
And so half the people, so they're splitting the meetings next year between Needham and Framingham, because the 22 towns, half of them are in that Framingham, Northborough area, and people don't like to come
All this
all the way
way,
to
yeah,
Needham.
yeah. And were you the one at that book club the other day that talked about your meeting with Shine? Obviously not.
Someone else was glowing. It was
Exactly, that's what I wanted to bring up. And I can't think of who it was, but
Wilmot.
oh, it was Barbara, and she lives in Dedham, and she came here and just raved
great.
about how great, you know, the person that she worked with, how much money they saved her.
Oh, great.
And just, I mean, I wish I remembered the person's name. I know she mentioned it, but, you know, I have short-term memory loss as well as long-term memory loss. But just absolutely raved up one side and down the other, how great it was and the amount of, she didn't mention the amount of money, but she was absolutely flabbergasted at the
That's
amount of
great.
money she saved her. So again, you know, Shine is something that we absolutely cannot lose under any circumstances, so.
And I will add for them, they did a huge outreach campaign last spring with money through an earmark grant. And this year it clearly worked because their appointments filled up for open enrollment like faster than ever,
Yeah.
like within early November, I think. So there's a huge, obviously a huge demand and more people are coming and more people are satisfying and, you know, it's a limited resource. So we're so lucky, I think, to have them in our home.
It's a
Here,
problem
so
with
some-
the facilities,
Yeah.
that we don't have enough space
Yeah,
or hours to do
Yeah. Well,
it, you know,
We
we're
can't
looking
make-
at alternate.
we can't make
spaces.
the week any longer, we
No,
can't
we'll-
make the day any
Yeah.
No, we're
longer.
looking like for alternate spaces, like a libraries and something like that, but they have to have a printer, that's.
Right, yeah.
I'm giving it was you, Colleen, and others echoed. The name was not important, it's every counselor has similar over the top
Right,
results.
Right,
How much money that people save and how.
and how kind they are and how, you know, how attentive they are and, yeah, it's,
They were all
yeah,
very,
it's great. Great. Okay, good news time.
So, I think the last time I was here, we were talking about capital priorities. for the capital budget, and we, at the board's request, we modified what we put in previously and submitted 3 capital requests. One to swap the fitness in the game room, one to design and build a handicap accessible rear entrance, and one to modify the kitchen. It's a tight fiscal climate, in large part because the Pollard is going to be rebuilt, and that's gonna cost many hundreds of millions. So there's not a ton of money floating around, but the good news is that all 3 requests were approved from Aging Service, or sorry, were
Okay.
recommended in the town manager's capital plan.
Right?
It's a question of whether that survives, but I
Yeah.
think it will.
Right,
With the
Um,
list.
There were a lot of things that were with us in line that got bumped. In large part because what we're asking for are relatively so we would ask for design money this year. And then construction money the year after doing the design. The town manager didn't recommend a number of projects for design because they already had a cost estimate that said it's gonna cost 20 million to build a new DPW facility and we can't afford it. So
Right.
because we're talking about a couple hundred thousand, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but in the grand scheme of capital budgets, it's not a ton. We got 3 recommendations through, which is great.
That's great.
So does that now go like to the finance committee,
So the, so the way the town works is that I don't know all the details. The town manager comes out with an initial budget, the select board and they take public comment, and the select board, I think, gets feedback on it. That it goes in the town manager's balanced budget recommendation to finance committee. Then finance committee holds hearings and ultimately decides what budget to send to town meeting, because it's finance committee's budget that's considered a town meeting. So there will be opportunity and need to defend it, in front of finance committee, but
that's why I asked the
Yeah.
question.
I think it's a lot easier to defend something that's already in, being on the defensive than being on the offensive and trying to get something put in that wasn't room for. So that's a good thing.
Mhm.
yeah, and, I know last year several of us went, but Tim and Latanya and myself, I think Ed, you were there too last year. And you were too, so. You know, so we do go to the finance committee when it's our turn and, you know, beg. More or less. So we'll just wait and see if we make it to the finance committee, you know, we're gonna
That's a good sign.
have a plan.
And I think it will certainly be discussion and there'll certainly be, why is this gonna be prioritized over that? But it's a good position to be in. We're almost assured to get something, and I think we're really likely to get all 3. So.
Right.
You know, but I think we need to be prepared.
Yeah.
You know, to be willing to give something up. And, you know,
Absolutely.
to get something else, so to speak.
Right.
And, obviously, you know, we have priorities and I would guess, probably we would all agree that the kitchen would be our last priority because it's not something that we really need. I mean, the move,
The gym.
right, exactly.
Fitness room and game room, yeah,
Mhm.
and the handicap accessible rear entrance. Actually, the easiest project is the fitness and game room. I did work with the director of building maintenance in case it wasn't funded, and he said, I think we can figure out a way to do some of these on the cheap. That one especially he thought we could do, but we don't have to necessarily go that route because there's gonna be proper money for an architect to design it out.
Right.
Cost it out.
Right. Right. Okay. Any other comment or questions that anybody has? All right. Jesse, anything, like, the board report, I'm sure covers a lot of it, but, and I'm not rushing you.
Oh,
but-
no, that's okay. Are you rushing me? No,
I'm not.
I know you're not. No, our numbers are sort of back to normal. We had that huge bump last month and things seem to have gone back to baseline. Very exciting. We're through our counseling wait list, which isn't on here because it happened today. So everyone that has so far reached out about counseling is now in the docket to be seen, so I just want to mark the day because it's been a while. And it might not be the same tomorrow, so, so huge shout out to Carrie, because Carrie is almost exclusively doing counseling right now. That program has been a huge, huge success. I know Kathy's not here, but she suggested reaching out to the Historical Society about our program with Mitchell School, our intergenerational program, and Gloria was super interested, so we're gonna do something together in the spring, which is really exciting, so thank you to the board for that suggestion. I put in a few more detailed numbers about Isabel's work at the Community Council Food Pantry. I just thought it was interesting. She's seen 73 different like unique individuals, which if you look at our like unduplicated number for the month, it's 101. So 73 in her time she's been there, but I just want to kind of mark the impact of that program and the different population that we're reaching by doing that. She's really built a good standing there. The other thing, our GoGo Grandparent Grant for medical transportation is going to be in the next Compass, so we're ready to go live. We're just working out the kinks. It's a completely different interface, ride shares, than we're used to doing taxis. Taxis, you know, we've basically called and said, you have a taxi, and now it's like this, it looks like the Situation Room, their website, so we're trying to figure out just to get someone to Beth Israel, so. But Stefan is all over it, and he's doing an awesome job. The iPad grant is going strong. Thank you again to Sue. We've given out, well, the community council is giving them out, but so far about 10 out of the 42 signups have gone out, and everyone should have received a call if they want to get it before the new year. And then if not, after the new year, really going to get a push to get them out. We've just run into some delays. I think those are the big updates. Our groups are doing really well. The caregiver group and the meditation group have really high attendance. So we're looking at starting, you know, a new group in the spring. We also did a lunch and learn, which was well attended, about like kind of getting through the holidays and finding meaning in them. So that was great. Volunteers are doing great. We have 26 active volunteers right now. We could not survive without them, many in this room. So thank you. And we did have a check-in meeting for the front desk as well as the boutique, and the boutique's going to be having a big sale just after the holidays. So all good stuff.
Great, okay. So anything on a programming other than you've mentioned, and transportation other than you've mentioned, you know, is probably it, as in the director's report. So since neither are available to give it in person, so. Anything that I had, we've already discussed, so if there is a motion to approve the minutes of November 14th, I would appreciate it. Thank you. A second?
Sure.
Is there any discussion? Any admission, addition? Spelling errors? I don't care. Anything? Yeah. If not, may I have a vote to approve the motion to accept the minutes of November 14th?
Aye.
Aye. Penny?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
I just mentioned, this has nothing to do with, well, it has to do with seniors. The four-way stop sign is, I can't tell you, for the first time I've come through and I don't have my heart in me. I know that who has the right of way, and I know that everyone has to stop. And I just can't tell you what
I don't know what changed. It was, for years, it was like, it's not allowed, it's not allowed, it's not allowed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's like, oh yeah, we can do it now.
The
Right.
town did a great job of signing
Yeah.
and marking it also. I think,
Yeah.
I think the worry was people coming up the hill.
Up the hill, yeah.
Yeah, but I think they've done a really good job, and it seems to be very functional. I agree with you totally.
So I have to tell you that the first day,
Uh-oh.
last Friday, right? I was going to the Friends Board meeting, and I'm coming down, and I make my right-hand turn. There's a police officer in this car with his lights flashing, and I'm driving down and I'm thinking, I wonder what's wrong, what's going on there? So as I make my turn, I hear a siren. And he pulls it behind me and gets out of the car, introduces himself, which I thought was very nice. And I said, what did I do? Because I honestly did not see it.
Right,
So
you're just
he's-
in the
And I
zone.
said to him, he said, you went through a stop sign. I said, I didn't even see it. He said, there's signage. There's a flashing light. There's a sign. I was like, I did not get a ticket. He was just said, you know.
No, they
he's-
were very, the police were around the first couple of days. I
Right,
thought
right.
that was good.
So every time I come down there, I stop, I do stop now at the stop sign. But I mean, it was like, I really didn't know what I had done.
Yeah.
And I had gone through all this stuff. I was concentrating on the fact that I had to be here for a meeting. And there was a cop car there
Right.
with a flashing light.
Right,
So anyway,
your brain does something different when they see a cop car, something happens in your head, and you're just like, I just wanna do what I gotta do and get away from the cop car.
I guess that-
You know?
I guess that's what it was, you know, I just thought something must have happened.
Isn't that the spot where there was never a stop sign?
No,
They
of course
just
not.
added it.
Yes,
Yes.
the day
Yes.
before.
but there were like
That's
3 other signs before I got.
It was a cloudy day.
Now
I'm
she's
sure.
nervous though.
Now it comes out.
Which I
Yeah.
really did not
Yeah.
read, because had I read them, I would know that there was, yes. So you can tell it when, you know, stay away from me when I'm driving, because I'm obviously not concentrating on what's on the road.
I think,
That's
what
awesome.
did they say? There were 14 accidents at that intersection in the last year or something like
I
that?
guess.
Yeah.
People come flying.
It's really hard, because
Coming up
there
that
there was
hill.
an accident there. And I was coming up the hill in the dark,
Mm,
and there was a tow truck going down the hill. I did not see, you couldn't see a cop because he was behind the tow truck.
Yeah.
So I started to come up, and he steps out and is, you know,
Yeah.
obviously I have a problem with being late. But the lights of the cars coming down the hill
Oh,
are
yeah.
so bright.
Mhm.
Right, you're right.
And all of this other flashing stuff that was going on, you know, I'm gonna stop driving in the dark, although the other thing was in the light, so I don't know.
You can take a go-go ride.
Yeah, you can test it out, Molly.
I get a ride to
Yeah,
to our meetings
absolutely.
here. Exactly, so.
No, but I think when you're so used to the road, you know, the patterns.
Yeah.
Even though the signs were there, I mean, you know better, you've been there how many hundreds of times.
Well, it's like
So
my,
you just
yeah,
proceed
and I think
accordingly.
anytime you go someplace that you've been a lot of times, like I drive out to Kyle's and sometimes I say, boy, I don't remember passing that, you know?
Yeah,
And so, or down to Connecticut that I do a lot too, so. Anyway, enough of my life. Ted,
Yes, here we are. I wasn't here last week, last month because, November is a little bit of a busy month.
Mhm.
But November 11th was Veterans Day at Memorial Park. Excellent event, very good participation, a lot of attendance by the town, very good. We had our collation after that at the post. November 8th, again, had the invitation by Elliott School Principal to go to Elliott on November 8th in the morning and lead the entire school in the Pledge of Allegiance.
oh,
So that was pretty good, and it just so happened that this past year, I asked one other member of the VFW, who at the time, back in the 80s, was the physical education teacher at Elliott. So he came there as well, so the two of us were there this year. So he was communicating with the other people, they took him into the gymnasium there, showed him what they have there now versus what used to be before. So he had a little bit of reminiscing there, but that was very good. So they used to do that for each one of the school buildings, but I think this year they, each one of the schools in the town, but this year I guess they didn't go to all of them because they had something to do with the Sunita Williams picture and all that thing that was taking place. So, but anyway, we participated at Elliott. Our Poppy Drive again this year, November 9th and 10th, both supermarkets in Needham excellent event. It's always amazing to hear when some people stop by, the stories that they have to pass on, their family affairs that took place veteran-wise. Very interesting, sometimes kind of moving too, but pretty good. November 14th, we did have our paraplegic dinner at the VFW, thanks to Kate Logie. She wasn't here that night for the meeting,
Yeah,
neither was
because
I,
of
but
the-
she
yeah,
was
running
there
that.
in full force. We
We'll
thank
have
you so much for
volunteers, we
your
have great
participation, your
volunteers at
help,
the VFW, yeah.
et cetera. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, Brockton and West Roxbury VAs, I guess, sent some kind of a message back that next year they're looking to even provide a few more people
Oh, great.
as paraplegics to
Mhm.
come. The sad part is when you watch somebody that happens to be 20 to 30 years younger than what you are, having a problem eating. So that's a little bit moving, but nevertheless, looking forward. That was our first one that we had since COVID. So we're gonna look to keep doing that year after year. November 21st was our Thanksgiving feast here at Needham. That's a little bit non-veteran, but very good event. I'd like to pass a thank you on to everybody that was involved in that. We also had our annual police dinner for the seniors in town, which was at our VFW, which again was a very good event. 2 bottles of wine on every table. The balloons were tossed in the air. They went all around. I think that's what
Yeah.
that's what encourages the participation as well. All is not lost, December 14th, which is this coming Saturday. Needham Wreaths Across America. We will be at the Needham Cemetery up at the Cannon. The chaplain will be saying something. Our VFW commander will be saying something. We will be up there shooting in the sky weapons again as a rifle guard. January in 2025, we will have our joint meeting with the Exchange Club at the VFW. I don't know exactly which date it is, but that's usually a very good event because we award the certificates and the monetary prize money to the various students that participated in the Voice of Democracy and Patriots pen contest. And again, we've got the same first place winners that were last year. They an excellent job on the reading, excellent job on the reporting. For somebody that's in high school, makes you think that they've got 30 years in broadcast experience, but excellent. Looking forward to that one as well. The other thing that I wanted to comment on as well, last month's meeting, I wasn't here, but at the bottom of one of the pages, Mr. Goldberg made a comment where he noted it was important for more seniors to speak with Josh Levy from the select board during his office hours to voice seniors' concerns. 1,000 credits to that, because not only is it important for the seniors to voice their opinions, but on Veterans Day, I happened to talk to I think his name is Kevin Keene and Josh Levy were at the event. And I was commenting on them about the latest things that the state passed, that Governor Healy passed in the HERO Act. And they had mentioned that, oh, you should let me know what it is and we can provide it on the agenda that's coming up, which I says I will do. And also Josh Tarski, our new state rep, was there. And his associate, I spoke with him and he said, oh, to pass along the information to him as well. So I will look to do that. Right now, my plate seems to be full, and every time I take a couple of spoons off, it seems that more is added. But I find that with the different things that Governor Healy passed, some of these I thought that they all had to be adopted or implemented or enacted by the individual towns. But that's not the case. I found out that some of this stuff is directly with the state. You don't even have to go to the town. You can go right to the state and apply for the benefits. One of them recently that I found out that in talking to a person at Lowe's recently, the young lady was parking in the veterans parking space. I asked her, who's the veteran? Her husband? She says, yes. And they live in Hyde Park, which is part of Boston. They already took advantage of one of the exceptions that are granted. And so it made me think, maybe because the state passes the law that within the city of Boston, it becomes first appropriate for them, very easy. But then I found out that one of our seniors here in the senior center, who is also a VFW member, who is also was a life member in the military, wound up getting his exception abatement, and he's probably in Lunenburg, which is a number of towns away. So that's not a direct state or city of Boston. So I took it upon myself to go to the assessor's office and ask, and found out as soon as I asked the question, no problem, they granted the exemption. Because it happens to be something that the state builds, so the town coughs the money back up to the state. Some of these other items that are involved there that were passed that are available, not with the towns, obviously, but with the registry of motor vehicles, stuff exists. But you gotta get the right piece of paper to apply in order to turn around and get your exemption. So I'm gonna look to run some of these others that were in the package that are basically directed to the towns, and also some of these that I had proposed and passed along to TJ, who is no longer with us anymore. And along with the same comment, our commander at the VFW worked up a letter, and he passed the letter on to Kate Fitzpatrick, recommending that they, based on the different districts that the VA is in the state, the 5 districts that we're involved in, he was recommending that they get a dedicated veteran service officer for Needham, seeing as how Needham has the most veterans in its town as opposed to the other 4 districts. So the letter has gone off. We haven't gotten a response yet, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But by the same token, there was a number of items that were passed along in March of 2023 when TJ was here. The stuff was put forth and it all died. Nothing got mentioned. It seemed as though nobody knew anything about any of that stuff. So a couple of these I will reiterate again to our select board, few members there, and maybe it'll look to get on the agenda for when they have their meeting. I don't know if it's the beginning part of next year or whenever it is. So so we're working on a few things. Maybe we'll get some feedback.
So Ted, some of the exemptions that you're talking about, is that shared with like at the VFW with the other members and the other military people that could?
Some of it is, some of it, if you go to the veteran service officer in the town, theoretically, he should be able to tell you. But again, there's nobody there that's anywhere with the 1,500 veterans in the town.
Right.
There's nobody that's calling up somebody or letting somebody know. Granted, some of these people, I meet them somewhere here and there, they see my hat, oh yeah, Vietnam vet. I said, well, do you go to the VA or? Oh, no, he says, I feel pretty good. I said, do you go next door to the town to get your veterans, to get your real estate tax exemption? Do you live in Needham? Yeah, I own a house. Yeah, you could give somebody $5,000 a month and they'll just forget it, okay? But again, when I listen to these comments about affordable housing, there's a lot of this money that's out there available, and laws have been passed, not just 2023, they've been around since 2018. Governor, the past governor passed them then, but some of these things are not put forth and they're not approved. It takes different towns. I've had examples from Northampton as well as from Ludlow. Okay. Western Mass. I even got up in September of 2023 at the district meeting in Weston. All 5 town managers were there. The VSOs were there. TJ was there, but he's a deputy director. He obviously, his boss was there.
Yeah,
So
you
he
had
didn't have-
mentioned this before.
Yeah, he didn't have anything to say,
Yeah.
but we got up, I got up, mentioned my thing as well, and it's ironic that when you look back at the town website for the VSO district meetings, the particular minutes for the one that they had in Wellesley recently, that one's in there as approved on the list. But the one for September of 2023, where we got up, there was 3 of us from the VFW and 1 elderly veteran from Weston who was a doctor he was there, but I got up, I mentioned our particular things. And ironically, the minutes of that meeting are not in the listing. The funny part about every one of these meetings is, it says the meeting, et cetera, just like we have our meetings here, but it also says citizens. Well, we had citizens that particular meeting, but because maybe the comments that were made, that the minutes of that meeting were not approved and put in the whole listing.
Well,
So, yeah, I understand,
yeah,
yeah,
for a long time, our minutes weren't being posted either.
yeah, well,
So, sometimes that just happens.
maybe so, but,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's the particular one that, and other ones that I look at, I see they never had any citizens before, but anyway, so be it. I thank you very much for your attention.
Okay,
Colleen, could I mention something?
sure.
And I don't know all about the things you were saying, Ted, but the town is looking to adopt the Valor Act, which is a abatement, not an exemption. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is.
Mhm.
But essentially, we have the senior core program. The town would like to, which is some 5N versus 5K or something, section of state law that you'd have to adopt. The town is looking at the spring 25 town meeting in May to adopt that and to change the way it funds basically the senior core and now the Valor Act. So that would be property tax abatements funded from the overlay surplus, which I'm not gonna even try to pretend to tell you I understand. But it seems to me like it's something that's long overdue. I don't know why the town hadn't previously adopted it. But I wanted to mention it here. I assume that this group would be supportive of the concept. And if so, I will come back in January or February with a more detailed presentation, but I wanted to at least mention it because we had a meeting earlier this week where we sort of worked out the details of how we would manage it, how we would ensure that there's enough money for both groups. And we did decide that we thought it needed to be means tested. So it would be open to anyone, senior or veteran, making 80% of the adjusted median income or less.
Is that different than the current abatements for? Like it's, because seniors currently have an abatement option, is it a different?
So this would be expanding it to veterans too.
Okay,
So someone who's a non-senior veteran would qualify, and I don't think you can get it twice. So someone who's a senior veteran would qualify twice.
Then how do you spell Valor, just so I get it correctly?
VALOR. That's okay. So I assume that this group would be supportive of that. I think, and I'll just say it out loud, it wouldn't mean that there's less money available for seniors who need help with their property taxes. It would actually be expanding it so that there'd be more money for seniors and for veterans. But I will gather more information and bring it back, and I think we'd probably like to do a presentation in either January or February.
I'm curious how
Great.
many are
Yeah.
non-seniors.
I don't know, you
Not
probably,
me.
Relative to.
you know, of the 1,500 veterans in Needham, how many are, under 60, say? I'm assuming it's a much smaller number.
There's probably more that are under 60 as opposed to over, because they're dying left and right from the post. We keep putting up the banner on every time we have a monthly meeting, there's somebody gone. So, and there's a lot of them that used to be coming to the meetings, but they're too old to even get there.
Yeah.
So they don't attend anymore. But
So you think there's more Gulf War and after?
I would think so, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, I
interesting.
could think of two, that doesn't strong.
Okay. Beth, friends report?
Sure. We're always working on the boutique and trying to improve it. So one of our plans is to get some of the items out there that are just not selling and to share them with the Needham Community Council, where they could probably sell it.
And then we have a little bit of an overrun of jewelry. So I thought there was gonna be a sale prior to December 25th, like a half price.
They,
So we can
Yeah,
move
yeah.
that stuff along, but I guess.
yesterday at the boutique meeting, they want to do it right after the holidays. But they did discuss at the meeting some of the stuff that they feel like won't sell anywhere, but is cute, giving out to our home delivered meals as a holiday gift.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
good
good.
Putting
idea.
together
Yeah,
those packets,
yeah.
so, yeah.
We just seem to accumulate.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
That sounds like-
Anybody said, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the other thing that we reviewed was our protocol for funding for CAP programs and activities. So we just made a few edits, and I shared with the staff. So everybody's aware of the process. It just helps to make things go smoother. And the last two items, March 7th and April 14th. March 7th is going to be staff appreciation lunch. And April 14th is going to be our volunteer lunch, so you're all invited to that. And we have an excellent relationship with Panera's. So one of our board members had said, hey, why don't we talk with Panera's about providing the food? So I've already talked to the manager and we're gonna set up a meeting.
So one of the things, because I do go to the Friends meetings, and one of the things about the April 14th volunteer luncheon is that the Friends have always paid for it, which I'm sitting there and I'm saying, wait a minute, they're all volunteers. So why are they paying for their own lunch? So, Latanya and I had a discussion. Again, we're all volunteers, but, so we're gonna try and do it, find some way of doing it a different way so that any of the two boards that are also volunteered and, will not have, we don't have any money, so we can't do it. But, yeah, so it just didn't sit right with me that the Friends who are volunteering and doing all this stuff for everybody, should have to pay for their own lunch, so.
Thank you, Colin.
Yeah.
Pam was just so.
I know, she was so excited.
Right.
She's the treasurer. So, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, great. Any old business? Or new business?
Can I just give a shout out to Bev for picking up Panera on Monday night?
I know,
It's
yeah.
not easy. Those bags are heavy and she and Walt are killing it, so thank you. Everyone loves the
Yeah,
bread.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk to you after and see what we can work out as far as scheduling.
any night owls out there that wanna do a bread
Because
pickup.
it's Monday night pickup and Wednesday night pickup. And last night, I didn't think there'd be enough room for Walter and I in my car. I was overwhelmed with the amount of bread and bagels.
Yeah.
Really?
Did you?
I came to the gym at 9 this morning and the table was just overflowing with breads.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Nobody went out yesterday.
Huh?
No.
Yeah.
Shopping.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a terrible day.
It was awful, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, I think, is it Copley Motors that supply?
Monday mornings, they're doing a
From
breakfast,
Every
yeah.
Monday for the last 6 weeks has brought in breakfast.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
nice.
bagels, pastries, different things, that
Right,
really
right,
nice.
yeah, because Karen.
Karen, yeah, is a volunteer with us,
at the
yeah.
Desk. Is- So,
Yeah, right, no,
Right.
it just,
Yeah,
n-
so
nice,
it's really,
nice
it's
to do
really
that.
nice.
Our continental breakfast is really elevated.
Showing our appreciation for doing that, because I know the seniors love it, they just think it's the best. I took a picture of some of the staff at Panera's, and I gave it to Jen to see if she could fit it into the compass.
Yeah, yeah, well, that would be great,
She
yeah.
did, and I wrote a paragraph. She said I had to streamline the photo, so instead of the
5 people, there's 2.
Well,
But
at least, right,
yeah.
You know, at least.
if there's something in there that shows our appreciation, yeah.
The other
But if
thing-
you want into the bread, be here by 9:30.
No, I think when I left, it was still here.
Tom's been rationing it, so it doesn't
Oh,
all go the
yeah.
same day now.
I think, yeah.
You just have to know the
whoever
right
does it, they
people,
don't
right?
Make it too big.
Yeah, he's been,
I'm
he's
still trying to
been,
get Thanksgiving.
Last night, though, they had, these round loaves that are about 1.5 inches high. And so I said to the assistant, I said, so what do you call those? She said, oh, they're focaccia. And she said, people love it, which is an Italian type of
Right.
bread with, a certain yeast and flour
Yeah.
they use.
Yeah,
I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, focaccia, F-O-C-C.
No, focaccia.
There you go.
Yeah. right.
And I was wondering how, what did you get the sandwiches out of?
Oh,
Yeah, you
yeah,
can,
you can,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
I think
It's a lot of places use it as a dipping bread.
okay, all right. So anyway, I
It's
had a
good.
bunch of.
your car must smell so good.
I know.
And I can honest, when I get in the
Yeah,
morning
yeah.
to deliver
Yeah.
it. Like, oh my, the yeast,
Yeah.
Oh,
my
yeah.
car smells like yeast. It's a bit much. It's a bit much. Wait.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay,
So if anyone still wants to
Yeah.
sign up to drive.
You know, again, as I said to you, if there's any, anybody that can't go on a Monday, let me know. I'm just around the corner from them, so,
Okay.
or Wednesday, whatever it is, so. Okay, if there's nothing else, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, a second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Penny?
Aye.
Right, and I wish you all happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and,
Grab some cookies on the way out.
Have
enjoy.
some fun tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know the food's gonna be good. Yeah, yeah.
On that committee too, Colleen.
Yes.